In a small village on the edge of the savannah, where the wind whispered through tall grasses and the nights were filled with stories told by firelight, there lived a family known for its dignity, discipline, and respect. The parents were hardworking and feared God, raising their children with strong moral values and teaching them the difference between right and wrong. The children were once admired by everyone in the village. They greeted elders properly, helped their neighbors, and were often praised as examples of good upbringing. Many believed these children would grow into responsible adults who would continue their parents' legacy. But fate is never predictable. One season, sickness entered the village like a silent thief. First, the father fell ill, then the mother not long after. Despite prayers, herbal remedies, and the efforts of village elders, both parents passed away within a short time. The village mourned deeply. The children were still young, too young to fully understand the weight of the loss they had suffered. At first, the elders and neighbors stepped in to help, offering food, advice, and guidance. Everyone hoped the children would stay on the path their parents had shown them. As time passed, however, things slowly began to change. Without the daily presence of their parents, discipline began to fade. The children no longer woke up early to help with chores. They stopped attending gatherings meant to teach them values and wisdom. Instead, they began roaming the village freely, mixing with bad influences who cared little for tradition or morality. What started as small acts of disobedience soon grew into habits that worried the elders. The eldest among them, who was supposed to guide the younger ones, became careless. He ignored the advice of elders who reminded him of his responsibility. Rather than protecting his siblings, he introduced them to behaviors their parents would never have allowed. They started lying, stealing small items, and speaking disrespectfully to those who tried to correct them. Each warning from the community was brushed aside with arrogance and laughter. Soon, the children abandoned honest work. They refused to farm, learn a trade, or contribute positively to society. Instead, they chose shortcuts, believing life could be lived without effort or accountability. They wasted what little inheritance their parents had left behind, spending it on temporary pleasures. The house that once echoed with lessons and prayers became a place of noise, arguments, and shame. The village elders gathered many times to discuss what was happening. They remembered the parents and felt pain seeing their children fall so far from the values they were raised with. Elders tried to intervene, calling the children for counseling, reminding them of their parents' sacrifices, but the children had grown stubborn. They believed wisdom belonged only to the young and mocked tradition as outdated. As the years went by, the consequences of their actions became clear. The friends who encouraged their bad behavior abandoned them when trouble arrived. Hunger entered their home, followed by sickness and conflict. The respect they once enjoyed vanished. People no longer trusted them, and doors that were once open began to close. The children blamed everyone except themselves, unaware that their downfall was the result of their own choices. One night, after a particularly difficult day, the youngest child sat alone, thinking deeply. Memories of their parents came rushing back, the advice, the warnings, the love. For the first time, guilt filled his heart. He realized that losing parents does not mean losing values, and that guidance ignored becomes regret later. He tried to speak to his siblings, but they were too far gone, consumed by pride and anger. Eventually, hardships scattered them. One left the village in shame, another fell into crime, and the youngest struggled alone, learning life's lessons the hard way. The village would often speak of them as a reminder to other children. Parents would gather their sons and daughters at night and tell this story, warning them that good character must be protected, especially when guidance is no longer present. This story teaches a powerful lesson. The absence of parents is not an excuse for bad behavior. Values are seeds planted early in life, but they must be nurtured with discipline and responsibility. When children forget where they come from, they risk losing where they are going. Respect for elders, fear of wrongdoing, and commitment to honest living are treasures greater than wealth. And so, in that village, long after the children had gone, their story remained a Hausa folktale passed from generation to generation, not to shame them, but to teach, not to judge, but to warn, 'cause a child who ignores wisdom today may spend a lifetime paying for it tomorrow.